All right, all right. Welcome to another episode of Cyrus's podcast. Today I have my good friend, Miss Holly Hatch. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I am so stoked to have you here.
Oh, thank you. Excited to be here.
I'm stoked because we've been trying to do this for a while.
Just a little bit, yes.
But hey, we're here,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So what I want to talk about today is I want to go into kind of like your history before you got into real estate, getting into real estate, and then absolutely crushing it in real estate, and then what your next game plan is from there. So
Yeah.
so I got a bunch of questions for you, but really like what brought you into the industry to start with?
Oh, gosh. Well, I was in college and met a friend who had an escrow officer as a mom, and I was actually in college for animal science. And she said, hey, you have the personality to be a realtor. You should get your license. And I got my license while I was in college, and the rest is history. And didn't finish college at the time.
Oh, wow.
And went into real estate, got my license when I was 19.
So wait, so you got your license at 19, and then you immediately just said, screw it, I'm dropping out of college and getting into real estate? Or like, how did that process work?
Yeah. Funny fact, I didn't get my license right away.
Okay.
I didn't pass a couple times. I was working and a full-time student, so I was not really focused on it. I was like, whatever, it just wasn't a big deal. So, but I basically, stopped going to college right after I got my license and went into training immediately, and then moved to Northern California and hung my license at Coldwell Banker as just a fresh, naive, young 19-year-old, almost 20 realtor. I couldn't even drink with the realtors, so that was
wow. And so when you being 19 years old in the real estate industry is hard.
Oh, very hard. Nobody takes you seriously.
So how did you deal with that?
I had a mentor because it was Coldwell Banker, so they were very dialed in as far as systems and everything.
Yeah.
And they put me with a woman who'd been in the business. I think she'd been in the business probably 35 years.
Oh, wow.
Became really good friends with her, and I just shadowed her and followed her everywhere, and just basically just took it all in. I did extremely well my first year because back then we had floor time. And
that's right.
Yeah, and I feel like because I was already in the mentality, I'd already had several jobs where it was 9 to 5. You go to work, you clock in, you clock out.
Yeah.
So for me, I just already had that work ethic. So for me, I went in every morning. I took people's floor time that didn't want it. And, you get a lot of sign calls. You got a lot of just, people walking in the door, and did really well the first year.
So you were in NorCal, you said?
Yes. Yes.
And so when you were in NorCal, I'm guessing you built your business up in NorCal.
Yes. Yeah.
And then when did you end up moving down here?
I moved to LA in 2012.
Okay.
With my ex-husband and kids, husband at the time, and I had to hang my license somewhere. And I was really bummed to be leaving my business up there because it was a very intricate, very sphere-oriented business. Because I was involved in a lot of things. I was a dance teacher, and I was a homeschooling mom, and we were in karate, we were in theater, we were in everything. So that was really where my business was built on.
Yeah.
I had a couple builders that I worked with, so I was very the spec building was a big part of my business up there. But the crazy thing is coming down to LA, which, as you know, is a completely competitive.
It's one of the most competitive real estate markets in the world.
Yeah, and I got intimidated, and I thought, what am I going to do here? Nobody knows me. I'm going to have to come at my business completely differently without knowing a soul.
Yeah. And
prove myself. And really, what I found was I had to prove myself to realtors, because those relationships are extremely important to getting things done.
I absolutely love that you just said that, because I truly think that's the most important relationship in this business.
Yes.
Is the other agents. And it's super, super underrated. I think new agents come in thinking, oh, I just can do my own thing. But the relationships with the other agents is what really makes your business. So you started building relationships with agents down here. You started building your business again down here. So did you just walk away from all your business up there and just come down here? Or were you still trying to kind of balance both?
I wasn't. I tried. Holly now would have done it differently.
Yeah.
And I would have created a referral business out of that. And I just didn't know any better at the time. So I just left, and that was it. My business, dwindled there. I tried going back and forth, and I did a few, things, but it's a 6-hour drive.
What part of NorCal were you?
South Bay.
Okay,
So south of San Jose.
Yeah.
So I did not. So here, basically what I had to do is I kind of affiliated myself with a realtor that was doing really well.
Yeah.
And just kind of worked alongside of him. And then at some point I said, he even said, he's like, what are you doing? You need to be, selling real estate and do your own thing. But I needed the confidence. I'd gone through a lot with my ex-husband. So it was the perfect opportunity for me to get my feet wet in LA and become, confident that I could do business in LA, because it is a very, very different market down here. Especially the buyers and sellers are not the same as they are in Northern California. The mentality is completely different.
Yeah, and you focus in what areas specifically?
Calabasas, Westlake, Silver Lake, anywhere from basically like North LA to like Ventura County.
Yeah, and that's a ridiculously competitive markets. Yeah. And high price. What's the average price points out there?
Well, we're based out of Calabasas, so average price there is probably about 1.5 for Calabasas specifically.
Wow. Yeah, that's like ultra luxury in some states, right?
Yeah, first time buyers buying at 1.5.
It's insane.
Crazy.
Yeah. So the reason I asked that is because perspective, and then what was the average price point when you were up north?
Oh gosh.
Do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was selling spec homes, but that was like a spec home on like 10 acres. So it was probably like a 4,000 square foot home on 10 acres was like 1.2. That was completely different. So average price was, I would say, probably like 500,000.
So completely different landscape.
Oh yeah.
And then you had to basically build your business all from scratch again.
Yes.
So you partnered with an agent in the area that knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And then once you kind of got your confidence, how did you break off and do your own thing?
That's a great question. So I was showing some multi-million-dollar properties in the Oaks and Calabasas. So there were like 20,000. I wish $20 million properties, because once you start working in that world, you get those calls. And I was working with an agent who was managing the Calabasas office for the agency, and he said, "Hey, you know what? I think you need to check us out. Come look at it." And so I did. And the minute I walked in the office, I was like, "Oh, this is where I need to be. I knew, like, as a single mom, like, I needed to level up to the next level and become, even more ingrained into the industry, especially in Calabasas and the real estate world there. So I knew it was the next step, and it was really hard to leave my friend, but it is what I needed to do. So it was a great opportunity.
So then you went to the agency, you started building your business. And then do you feel like you hit a certain point when you finally felt like it like started really like happening with the business? Or was it, because again, like I'm going back to you being 19 years old,
right,
not knowing anything about real estate, getting into real estate, doing well, and then starting your own business, starting a whole new business down here. Like, where do you feel like it started clicking?
That's a really great question. I felt like it started clicking right before I left to go to the agency. I felt like I was heavily marketing myself, and I was branding myself, and that was hard to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, okay, look, there's Instagram, there's Facebook, it's free. I can do this. I had no money at the time. So it's like, I have to brand myself. I kept telling myself, people need to know who I am, because I kept saying in my head, like, I know how to get a deal closed.
Yeah.
But agents didn't know that. They didn't know who I was. I had to prove myself to them, and then I had to prove myself to the community. So I really ingrained myself within my kids' school. Started working the Snack Shack, running the Snack Shack for football. We had a huge football following. It was Calabasas. We were D1. So I was like, I'm going to just make myself present like all the time, and then leverage social media. And that's really when I started feeling like people started recognizing me. And then once I went to the agency, I just started coaching. That just catapulted me to the next level, I think. And that's when I started feeling like people were recognizing who I was. Yeah.
I love the fact that you went and you ingrained yourself in the community with the football. Like that is, again, a major hack where like, especially like when you have kids, right? Like, especially like when you have that opportunity, like, okay, you took on another job, quote unquote, right? But the reality is you saw it as opportunity to be able to put yourself in front of hundreds of parents on a daily basis.
Yes. Oh yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah, and then started marketing ourselves around it. So like banners about the Snack Shack and sweatshirts for the girls basketball team that my daughter was on.
Oh wow.
Like just being a part of that, and it makes so much sense. I mean, you're already there.
Yep.
You might as well leverage it. You might as well use your skills.
Yeah, I love that. So now everybody started clicking, knowing who you are, so on and so forth. You're growing that, and then now you're where you're at, right? You're at the agency, and you feel like your business is finally going upwards on a. And I'm watching it, by the way. And by the way, like your branding, your marketing is so killer. I freaking love it. I watch it all the time, and I'm like, oh, I should take that idea. Let me use that, right? Like, but you also, on the flip side, like some of your marketing that you've done is really cool. Like in the fact that you guys are doing the flipping it with, what is it? Tell me the title.
Flipping it with Holly and Chris.
Flipping it with Holly and Chris. Like, these things are like what people like to watch and like to see. And so like, what drove you to start hitting those like marketing, like that idea, for instance?
Yeah, no, it's great. Well, so I know social media obviously was the way to go.
Yeah.
I had kids my ex-husband we were trying to get the kids into the industry.
Yeah.
And so I knew like social media was it. So I thought, well, I'll just take that energy, because my kids were like, we don't want to have anything to do that anymore. So I was like, well, I'll take that energy and I'll put it into myself and the marketing. So also with a theater background, it was like, this is kind of a no-brainer. So I started just doing the stupid selfie videos, in my car, and it was like Car Talk with Holly or whatever. And then the minute Chris and I started working together, and he came over to the agency, we started working together and branding ourselves together. I said to him, we're going to do video. And he was just like, deer in the headlights. You're kidding me. We're not doing video. Like I can't do it. But once that camera's in front of you and you start getting comfortable with it, we did it. And the day we were about to tear apart our house, I said, wait a second, stop. We need to video this and we need to make it a show.
Yeah.
So
that's so awesome. And so then you had a film team come out, shoot, and do that? Or
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That is so cool. So now, like, as far as you're getting the videos, you're getting all the content, but how are you putting it out? How are you getting people to watch it?
Well, that's a slow, I chose the slow and steady, like very, organic way of doing it. I knew from the past, like you could buy followers and do all that crazy stuff, buy accounts that were already, I just didn't want that. I wanted a really true, solid following. Yep. And it's been slow. It's been slow, but it's been steady. And it really, really has started taking off within the past 2 years. And this year is been phenomenal as far as that goes.
The reason is because I've watched it happening and I see that. And so like what I wanted to point out is like you don't need to try to take as the fastest route possible to get there. Like it's about consistency, and like that's something that you are very consistent with. You guys are consistent with your output of your media, of your content, which is
thank you.
Therefore allowing it to grow organically.
Right.
And I think organic growth is probably one of the most, it's probably the best type of growth in general, right? Yeah. It's the longest lasting growth. Right. It's the same thing as building relationships in real estate, right? Definitely. Like when you build a personal relationship with somebody versus just buying leads, like it's going to be a longer lasting relationship.
Totally. And you got that following going, and they really want to see more, and they really want to connect with you. And I think that's what's really important. Yeah.
And so you do a lot on media and everything as well, but like what I hear is it's very heavy on SOI. It's very heavy on Sphere, right? Yeah. Like I'm just from what I'm talking to you about. Yeah. So how do you keep up with your Sphere? Like, so you meet someone at the Snack Shack, right? And like the blah, blah, blah. Like, how do you keep up with those people?
Gosh.
Do you have a process?
We do now. We, about 2 years ago, I think it's been 2 years ago, and Chris is still trying to get me connected because as an old fashioned realtor, is having a, CRM has been really hard for me to get used to, but he's so technical and it's been great. But so now we're using Follow Up Boss. I'd say that way, definitely. And I've just now gotten to the point where the, contacts are all in there, and I'm starting to take notes every time I talk to somebody, which is really hard. But I would just say honestly, that constant contact. The funny story is one of the gals that I used to work with at the Snack Shack, her son and my son were playing football together. And we just hired her as a new agent on our team.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Which is also like a whole nother side of the growth that we didn't even touch base on, right? Like the team growth, the growth of the team, which is, that is amazing.
Yeah. Which I think I can attest to. A lot of that has to do with the social media and, you know, just completely constantly being a touch, that's organic touch.
Yeah.
That you're not physically having to, you know, call people, but they're seeing it, they're seeing what you're doing, and they want to be a part of it.
Yeah. And it's top of mind, and it's being there on their feed every single day, no matter what, right? Like that is amazing. Now your business is absolutely booming. I'm watching it. I'm watching your media. I'm watching everything. Now, what's next? What are you guys going to do next?
That's a great question. Well, the new thing that we're working on right now is growing a team. We just, we have 5 agents now, and this all just happened within the past month and a half.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that's been a little chaotic, but also exciting at the same time. So we're doing that, and we definitely want to branch out. We want to hit some other areas that we really love. One of them being Arizona. So we have 2 kids living there right now, college at ASU. So we have some things in the works.
Yeah,
definitely. There's some bigger things happening.
So your goal with building the team is that to cover more ground in your specific areas, or are you growing outside expansion wise?
So the team we have right now would be just to cover the areas that we work now.
Yep.
And to allow us to be able to go in and grow some other areas that we want to have. So if we have that freedom, then we can help other people. So we're going to hire a few agents in Arizona and possibly do that whole expansion as well, and maybe some other areas in California too. I love that.
I love that so much. I'm so stoked that we're able to have you on today and that you're able to come out and share your knowledge. Now, if you were 19 years old again right now, and you're getting into the business, what piece of advice would you give yourself with everything that you know now?
That's a fantastic question. I definitely would say to brand yourself immediately. That is the biggest thing. And don't be afraid to do it. Just put yourself out there, brand yourself, let people know who you are. I think the coolest thing that I've ever learned is to create your tribe. And I think that's extremely important, that people that know who you are, if you put yourself out there, if you're making video, they're going to understand who you are, and they're going to want to work with you because they match your style.
Yep.
And you're not meant for everybody. You're not meant to work with everybody. And I love that analogy.
I love that. That is like one of my friends, I was talking to her about this, and when she was having her first baby, and she was freaking out because she's like, I'm having a baby, my business, and I don't want to tell my clients that I'm having a baby yet because they're going to freak out. And I said, then maybe they're not your people.
Yes.
Like if they're not truly excited about you having a baby and supporting that, then like, are they your people?
So true.
And so when I remember when we had that conversation, she was like, she called me later. She was like, oh my gosh, like the fact that relieves such a stress over her, because it really is like, that's really what this business is about, is finding your people, finding who you want to be surrounded with.
Yes.
Or else it's just going to be draining.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here. I absolutely appreciate you being here. Now, Holly, where do people find you if they need to reach out to you?
Great question. They can reach out to me on Instagram or our website.
Awesome. What's your Instagram?
At Holly Hatch Sells.
How do you spell that?
HOLLYHATCHSELLS.
Okay. And what's your how do you spell your website?
It's HOLLYANDCHRISLUXURYHOMES.com.
Holly and Chris, luxuryhomes.com.
That's a long one.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you again for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right.